We're trapped in that, extrasensory perception. But what the heck does that mean? You know, I mean, this says, okay, we have a body, and that's intrasensory perception, I suppose. And if we sense things out here, that's extrasensory perception. But the fact is that everything is interacting with each other, and we don't need to think in the terms of these. This is a dichotomy. Is it physical or is it psychic? You know, that's a dichotomy. The main thing is, the principal thing is, that the body perceptions and the extrasensory perceptions are exactly perceptions. And it really doesn't matter whether they're inside the body or outside the body or floating around in an out-of-body state or anything like that. There's a word in English that's very seldom used. It's called sensorium. Do you know what a sensorium is? It was first used in about 1865, I believe, to describe, it was called an organ, in quotes, an organ of perception that senses the rays of everything. Have any of you sensed rays of anything? I can sense your rays. Can you sense mine? Shall I make a ray that you can sense? Okay, so here's an organ, hypothetically called a sensorium. It's the total package of our sensory apparatus, whether physical, mental, spiritual, of the soul, or anything else that you want to add on to that. And so every cell in your body is sensing something. And then you have the electromagnetic field or the energetic fields around the body, which are made up of particles too. And they're each one of them sensing something. And then there's what the Theosophists like to call the etheric aura, which is refined, much above the physical, the grosser auras and things like that. And that's made up of probably particles too, each of which is dedicated to sensing a particular this and that, like every sensory portion of our body is dedicated to sensing a specific thing, right? So where's the seat of perception? Well, we're not just sitting on it. You know, we don't know where the seat of perception is. Maybe there isn't a seat of perception. Maybe we're just living in a big, vast cosmic universe, each little tiny particle of which is its own sensing system. And we're just a conglomerate of them. You know, that doesn't explain evolution, of course, and it doesn't even explain creationism. But it explains us a little better than any of these reality box packages that we're programmed into throughout our life and in which we obey. In the 70s and 80s, scientists with their great electron microscopes and everything began to find that cells in our body act as receptors, all kinds of data. And by 1991, it sort of published one little book and made a list of these kind of things. Did you know that you have receptors in your nose that smell emotion? Yeah? How do you know that? What? You smell them, yeah. Did you know you have receptors in your taste buds that sense motives? Motives from other people. So if you go around with your tongue, when you're talking to somebody, just give them your tongue and you might sense their motives and things like that. You know, these are all things that used to be attributed to parapsychology and to some kind of non-physical apparatus, right? Extrasensory perception was not supposed to emanate from physical things. For whatever the reasons were, I was born into this life, and by the time I was 3 months old, I could see people's auras, and I could do this, and I could go out of body and travel around and so forth and so on. And I finally realized at about the age 2.5 that I needed to read a dictionary through page by page as soon as possible so I would know how to talk about these things. So I did that, and thereby I found out that you weren't supposed to talk about these things. This was back in 1936, I guess. You know, you see how aged I am? So then, you know, you are subjected to cultural conditioning around you, and you like to fit into that cultural conditioning, so you learn what not to talk about and what to talk about and so forth and so on. So yourself, as one of these magnificent sensoriums that you are, gradually gets collapsed down until you fit in. And it has to be a true fitting in, because even though the people around you don't want you to talk about these things, a lot of them have residual telepathy anyway, and they can sense whether you're fitting in or not. How many people here have never fit in? Look at this, you see. I mean, and how many people here have fit in? Well, you have to fit in, you know. I mean, that's the rule of the game out there. That's the social scenario out there, so you have to fit in.